All right, hello guys. Here we are still in the slope packet, and we're going to move on now to graphing lines using the slope-intercept form. So hopefully you've seen this from last year, but maybe you haven't, so I'll explain it to you. So there's a thing called slope-intercept form that we're going to be talking about and using this to graph a line. So slope-intercept form is just this format right here. Y equals mx plus b. Now the letter m in this formula right here, m is always the slope. So that's the number that's right in front of the x. Okay, so whatever number is right in front of your x is always your slope. And you're going to use that with our slope, rise over run, right, like always, to graph it, okay? Now the new variable here is the b, which is this number off to the side. B is what's called the y-intercept. Y-intercept. And this is the point where you always start your graph here. And it is the point where the line crosses your y-axis. And that's where you're always going to start. Okay, so let me go through. I'm going to do these examples on this page 10 with you, and then you'll do page 11 for homework. So let's try question number 1. All right, so the first thing we notice is the number in front of the x. That's the format, y equals mx plus b. So this number right in front of x is the m. So that's my slope, 3/4. B is always this number off by itself, afterward, at the end. So that is my b. And if it's positive, you just give it a positive. If it was like plus 2, it would just be 2. But since it's minus 2, I have to keep the negative with it. Okay, so what did we say? We said you always start here at the b. So this is where we're going to start. And that's on our y-axis. So I want to go on my y-axis down to -2. That's where I always start. And now my slope is going to tell me how to move. So let's think about this. Slope is always rise over run. So it's 3/4. So I'm going to go up 3 because it's positive 3. And then I'm going to run. That's also positive, so I run to the right when it's positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's my second point. Now that I have my 2 points, I can connect them and make a line. And that's it. I'm done. So you start at the y-intercept, and then you use your slope to tell you how to rise and run. Now remember, if those were negative, that you would go in a different direction, right? So with the slope, since this was positive 3, I went up. And since it was a positive 4, I went to the right. But if one of those was negative, I could have gone down or I would have gone left. Okay, so we'll see some of those in another example. Let's try number 2. All right, so here I've got my slope right in front of x, that's -2, and then the number off to the side, that's my b of 5. So remember, we start here on the y-axis. So I go on my y-axis to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now my slope is -2, but that's not a fraction. We wanted the slope as rise over run. So how do I make a number like this, just a number like -2, how do I make that into a fraction? Well, you guys know how to do this. You would just put it over 1. So anytime you have a whole number here, just put it over 1. And that's going to tell you how to move. Now, this one's negative. So instead of rising up, because it's -2, I have to go down. So I'm going to go -2. Now this is still a positive 1, so that's still going to go to the right. So I go to the right one, and there's my second dot, and I connect them, and I'm done. Now you can keep this going. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2. Or you can keep that pattern going and make lots of dots and then connect them, or you can just do 1 or 2 and then connect them, okay? So that's how we do it when there's a negative and a whole number. All right, let's try number 3. Okay, so what's my slope? Well, here it is, -1/5. And what's my b? -3. So we know we start here on the y-axis. So I go to my y-axis to -3. And then from there, I've got this slope of -1/5. So this is kind of tricky because the negative was just out in front. So you have to decide, where is that negative going to go? Is it going to go to the top, to the bottom, or to both? What I want you guys to do is I want you always to send that negative to the top. So we're going to go down 1, and that leaves this a +5, so it's going to go right. So from here, I'm going to go down 1 and right 5. And then I do my second dot, and I draw my line. Okay, so if it's a negative fraction, make the numerator negative and keep the denominator positive. All right, one more example. Now this one's kind of tricky. There's only a 3x. There's no b, right? It's supposed to be y equals mx plus b. And all we have is this mx. So what should we do about the plus b? I think some of you figured it out. It's just like saying plus 0 because there's nothing there. So that's going to give me a 0 for my y-intercept, and my slope is just 3. Now, we talked about this before. When it's a whole number, we put it over 1. So our slope is 3/1. That's rise over run. This is positive and positive, so I go up and right. But where do I start? At 0 on my y-axis. So it's going to look like this. And then I went up 3 and run 1 to the right. Up 3 and run 1 and connect. And that's how you graph using y equals mx plus b. So you're going to do page 11 today to practice. Submit those on Schoology, and then tomorrow you're going to do pages 12 and 13. All right, good luck.